Hi everyone, welcome to today's tutorial. It's been quite a while since I did any of this because I've been so is it caught up or engrossed with work that I've not had time to really go back to doing this or come back to doing these creative design tutorials. But then let's get on with this particular one. So yeah, uh, what I'm going to be doing today is actually this particular animation, this particular website animation I saw from Illusion.co's website. So basically, it's just like a loader that turns into an L, and then the L is a mask that zooms in and then reveals like what's in the background. So what's in the background is like the actual website itself. So you can see that's basically like the long and short of it. Let me just quickly show the actual website itself so you can see. So this is the website. Illusion.co is a creative design agency that focuses on 3D and creative website or design, among other things. So let's just reload the site and see how it works. So yeah, you can see I didn't do this loader on mine because it's too complex. Not too complex really, but then it was just going to extend this particular exploration more than I personally wanted to give the time to for it. So yeah, I exempted that. So I think I'm going to do that loader in another tutorial. I actually have done something about it before. I think I've even covered it in one of my other tutorials, but regardless, I'm going to do like a more focused tutorial on how to achieve that particular text loader. So let's start again. So you can see it's a bar that fills up and then it turns into breaks apart, turns into an L, and then reveals the actual website itself. So I feel like that's the same thing I was able to achieve here. It's a bar that fills up, turns into an L, and then the L zooms in and reveals the actual website itself. So without much ado, let's get into like the work that's going on behind, or the design that's behind, the design and process that's behind it, so we can I can explain a couple of things. So basically you can see that the bar here, so initially I was even going to add the text and all, the loader and all, but then it would take this tutorial like to be longer than I personally want it to be. So yeah, basically it's just the bar that fills up, and this particular bar, since it's going to turn into an L, the idea I had to account for this would be that the bar should actually be two different what's it called, two different the loading bar should be two different elements. So let me just say two different rectangles or two different frames here, two different frames. So you can see here, this you have the big frame, and then you have the small frame, like this big frame, small frame, and then here why you can't really tell is actually two as well. So let me just separate them. So you can see you have the small one here, the big one here. They are all put inside of one frame that I called it loose, and I call this one big anchor, small anchor. So all these anchor things, I'm going to get to them in a moment and explain why I call them anchor, big anchor and small anchor. So yeah, you have that, and then that L itself, when it gets to that L, it's then ideally this L is meant to zoom in, like get bigger like this. Okay, get bigger like this, and then rotates slightly like this, and then you have the content shown through this particular window here. I hope I'm recording this session. Let me check. Okay, it's still recording. So yeah, the website content shows through this window here. So let me just still expand it to get even bigger. Move it around. So yeah, basically this is just the idea. Just zoom it in on to the point where all the black lines appear, and like you only have this white area. The website content is inside of the white area. So yeah, let's get to how you can achieve that. So that's what happens here. So here I have this one here because again there are many, how do they say that, there are many ways to skin a goat. I don't really know how that thing is said, but yeah, what I should have done, what I would have done if this were like a more simple shape, is I would have had this particular website, the actual website itself, inside of the frame here. But then because this is like a complex shape, I would say complex shape because it's not like just like a straight connected shape. It has some complexity to it. So because it's a complex shape, what I went to the easier solution I saw to achieving my results was to turn this particular thing into a, what do I call it? Turn it into a, what's the word? Turn it into a vector. Yeah, turn it into a vector, and then use the vector to cut through a black background. So let me take this background out so you can see what I'm talking about. So this is a rectangle which has a cutout here. The word is cutout, which has a cutout of that same L inside of it. And because the background of the actual viewport it's white, you can see through that cutout and see into like the white background. So the cutout itself is what expands. Sorry, the this rectangle with the cutout is what grows bigger here and then rotates. So that's what I actually did on mine. So there are multiple ways you can actually achieve this, but this was the easiest and simplest route I thought I could achieve this particular thing. So you can see here, let me click on the mask. So you can see it's really, really big. It's really, really big. But if I to like make it smaller, you can see that the L starts to come back into view. So yeah, I actually had to zoom it in a lot so you can see what is happening. I feel like this like gives you a sense of what is really happening here. So I had to turn this L here into a vector and then use to cut out I used to cut through a rectangle and then make the rectangle what do you call it, make the rectangle like the mask through which this background content shows. So I'm going to show how I did all of this in a second. So without much ado, let's get to work. I'm going to create a new file. I already have created a new file. I'm going to call it Illusion Design Session. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is to create a frame. So if you know me, which I assume you should by now, I like to use a 1440 by 810. So it's a whole conversation around me personally liking a 16 by 9 aspect ratio frame for my designs, and it's just the best aspect ratio I like for website designs, for that's desktop design. So yeah, 1440 by 810. I could do 1920 by 1920 by 1080 as long as it's on the 16 by 9 aspect ratio. It's totally fine. So I'm going to do this, and then I don't think I want to go through the hassle of creating all that website layouts again, because basically it's actually a very simple layout. So I'm just going to copy this one here and then paste it here, because I'm trying to focus on more the how to achieve the animation. So let's not sweat the content too much. However, I'm going to still give some insight as to how I structure content for animation as well. So basically, I'm going to try to start naming things properly. So I'm going to name this one viewports. If this were my personal design, I don't think I'll bother much about names. But since I'm doing this to show you how to do it as well, I think I want to really think about the names. So I'm going to call this how do I call it even tough? Website. Let me just call it website content. So I'm going to call this one image frame. I'm going to call this one okay, I'm going to call this one image. Or you know what? Let me just still give some insight as to how I structure these things. Do I bother about that? Okay, let me just delete this one. I'll start with this one and explain like the whole layout. So basically, I have the website content like this. Website content is supposed to be like a auto layout group. You can use just auto layout, it's totally fine. But me, I like to use auto layout because it helps me with structuring my content very easily and properly as well. So yeah, I have my text here, my body text. I'm going to create this body text from scratch again, because for some reason there are things I actually did to the text that I want to show you how to achieve as well. So I'm just going to drop a text here, type anything, and then I'm going to run this plugin. What's it called again? Lorem Ipsum, yeah, Lorem Ipsum, and then I'm going to generate 5. Let me do one paragraph and see how much it says. Okay, I'm going to also shrink it down. Okay, so this works. I think this works. I'm going to cut it, Ctrl X, and then I'm going to paste it here. Paste to replace. I'm going to make the color black 0000, and the font I'm using is New Montreal. I'm going to leave the link to download the New Montreal in the comments or in the description of the video, so you can find it there. So yeah, I'm going to drop it here, and then the next thing I want to do is because I'm having them in an auto layout group, I'm just going to select everything, and I'm going to make it okay, they're not in an auto layout group. Okay, I'm going to name this auto layout group top content. So I'm going to have this one called buttons. This one that contains buttons, I'm going to call it buttons. This one that contains the logo, I'm going to call it logo. and then the text itself, I am going to have it in an auto layout group of its, sorry, yeah, in an auto layout group of its own. I'm going to remove all the padding and left padding, spacing and everything. Okay, so next thing I want to do is to select the top content that contains all these things and auto layout them. And then I'm going to make the what's spacing, horizontal gap. Let me make it 24. Again, I like to use I like to what's the word? I like to use space things in multiples of 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. So that rule states that when you keep adding like 4, 4, 4, 4 to any spacing until it looks as good as you want. So if you try spacing of 4 and 4 looks too tight, you add 4 again, 8 from 8 to 12, from 12, 16, and like that, so on and so forth. So I'm using 24 because again I'm already familiar with all these figures, and 24 is just like the sweet spot for me. So I'm going to make the top content. I'm going to make it fix. No, okay, fill container. Yeah, fill container. And then I'm going to make website content the auto layout group that contains everything, both that's going to contain the top content and also the image content. As I'm going to make it 1440. That's the width is fixed. The width is the same as the one of the view port itself. So yeah. So the website content, I'm going to duplicate this content here and then add an image. I want to add an image now. So I'm just going to copy this image from here. I'm going to paste it, paste to replace. So paste to replace, paste to replace. So yeah, you can see there's no space in the, so all these things are in the website, the content layout group. I should not really be sweating to explain the layout, the way I lay out things, but then I feel like it's important to know how to do this thing so that when you actually start the actual prototyping, you don't actually have any mistakes or anything. So yeah, so great prototyping or great interactions lend themselves to properly structured designs as well. So that's just really one thing you should know. Like if you want something to play out good, it should actually like be properly structured as well. So yeah, I have the top content. Should I call this hero content? Let me call it hero. Let's just leave it. I'm going to call this one bottom content. Okay, bottom content, and then I'm going to call this one image frame. Okay. So keep in mind that the image frame contains a rectangle that has image. I'm going to call this one image. Or let me call it actual. Let me call it real image. Just so they have distinct names. So the image frame houses the image itself. So don't make the mistake of making the background of the image frame the image. The image does not have any fill. The image frame does not have any fill. It's the real image. That's the rectangle that contains. Or you know what? Let me not remove it. I was going to remove the image before, but then let's just leave it. So it's a rectangle basically that I added the the image to, and had it inside of the image frame as well that houses it. So just keep that in mind. Again, I'm going to drop the link to this file in the comment sections of the video, so you can always like poke through and see that your design is properly structured, so you don't have any mistakes that you're running into and everything. So yeah, I'm going to, for this content at the top, just going to space them apart, and the way I do that is just going to make them fill container. Oh, that's not going to work. Okay, I want to make this one fill container instead. I make the others okay. I make the others okay. Make this one fill. Now make this one I should make this one hug really. I should actually make it hug content, so it's in line with the image. However, I am just a bit curious about the way this thing's supposed to turn out. So I'm going to make the text fill container as well. And then, yeah, I think this works. And then I'm going to make the spacing even bigger. Let's do like, let's say 40. You know what, let's do 80 instead. Okay, I think I'm okay with this. So I'm okay with the way this looks. It doesn't have to be perfect, pitch perfect like this. What we're focusing on is really the animation, but then this is just design aspect. Or what I would even do sometimes is I could go ahead and take a screenshot of this page and then put it in my design and then just design over it just to make sure my things are perfect. But yeah, I think this works for me. Does it work? You know what, let me still do 120 instead. Yeah, so the text is actually like smaller because text is set to, the text frame behavior is set to fill. So as I'm adding more spacing, the text is going to be decreasing as well, while the others are going to be unaffected because they are set to fixed or hug. So yeah, that's just something worth mentioning. So I think I should do this one as auto layout as well. Do this one as auto layout as well. Okay. So I am good to go. The spacing between them, and the top spacing is 70. I don't think I want that. I want 60. 60. I think 60 is still on the 4 pixel the whole 4 pixel scaling thing as well. So the bottom spacing here, I want to make it 40, because I want the image to kind of be closer to the text. So let's just play. One thing I always like doing is, like, when I design something, I always like playing it to see how it looks. So if I'm designing for desktop, I play it instead of my PC to see how it looks. If I'm designing for mobile, I use Figma Mirror to see how it looks. So because you can't fully judge a design from looking at it on the canvas like this, you can't fully judge how things are going to look. So you have to play it first. And then personally, I like also pressing Z, 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 Z until it goes to actual size, so I can see how it looks. And here, okay, this is going to look on the screen of so and so capacity. So I think this looks okay. I think it looks okay. I'm not going to delve too much into that thing. So the text itself, I'm okay with it. It's New Montreal, that's the font. It's set to 24 pixel for the size, and then the width, or the weight rather, is set to book. And then I have other parameters, so you can just check that out in your spare time. So without much ado, let's get to the actual. So I've done the website itself. This is ready to go, and then I'm just going to start preparing like the loading state, because the loading state is actually where the main work really is. So let's see how to get that done. I'm going to duplicate the viewport. Okay, the viewport. Press enter, delete all these things, and then the next thing I want to do is to turn this fill to black. Ideally, I think I should be having a background instead. I should put a rectangle that I make the background black. But let's just go the route that I use myself, so that we can get lost along the way. So I'm going to make the viewport's background black, and the next thing I want to do is to draw a frame, a convenient frame. I think I want to personally use the size I used here. So the width is 183. Okay, so I'm going to draw a frame here. So just press F on keyboard, F, draw a frame, and then I want to make the size. Let's do a convenient size of 200. Let's just do 200, and then for the height, let's do 24. So I'm going to make the frame like an obnoxious color so you can see what's going on. Okay, and then I'm going to center it. I think I need the frame taller. Okay, so for the height, let's do 40 instead. Let's do 40 for this one instead. Okay, so I have a frame. So this is going to be the loading frame. So it's meant to be, let me just call it something really descriptive, like loader. Okay, so I have this loader. I got a loader. Yeah, let's call it loader. So I'm going to, in this loader, I'm going to duplicate it first, and then I'm going to what should I do? I should actually try it out. So what I want to do is I want to reduce it by half. I'm going to do divided by 2 here in the width, and then have a second one. So I want to create the L first and see how it looks. So what I would do is change this color here to green, so I can actually differentiate what is what. Green, blue, okay. So what I want to do is to have this side, because I meant to like be the L, the vertical, horizontal. I mess up the words a lot. Yeah, the vertical, this is meant to be like the vertical part of it. So ideally, the vertical part should actually be slightly longer than the horizontal part. So what I want to do is to actually have this one still be smaller a bit than this. You can do this anyway, really. You can actually do it anyway. What I'm going to do, just to stretch this a bit. What I'm going to do, I like having a method to the things I do. So I am going to make this one 50, so half of this, and I'm going to make what's it called, half of the 50 as well. So this one here, you can see, is half of this one here, and I'm going to draw another one and then make it half as well. So half of it is 25, obviously. So but then you just do math here. So I am going to add this one to the green. I like making green as well, green, and then I'm going to move it to the top. So all this is just some small method I use to the designs I do. There's no real reason as to why. It's just I just like having a method to the things I do. So yeah, I'm going to then shrink this one to stop where this one ends. So what I'm going to do now is stretch this one here, all the way to this side. So yeah, I have been able to at least follow a method to achieving like the thing actually, and you can see that both of them are still like the same. If you add them together, the sum of the two of them is the same length as the original loader. So I'm going to call this one now. I'm going to call it vertical. It's going to become the vertical at the end of the day. So let me just call it vertical from now. And then I'm going to call this blue one here, horizontal. Okay, so now that's done, I'm going to just duplicate them, and then I want to like create like the vertical version of it where it switches to the L, so you can see how it looks. I think this looks fine. I think it looks fine. So you can see that if you were to become an L, it will still look okay. But then if I had made this smaller, I think it would have been maybe looking weird. So you can see how the method to the whole madness was able to give us something that looks decent. Should I say it looks decent? I think it looks okay. So yeah, I'm going to delete this. And the next thing I want to do, because do I do a small demo for this? Do I do a small demo? I'm going to do a demo for it, but then let's do it first. So I'm going to do it first, and then I will do a demo, like a demo to show before and after, so you can see like difference between both of them. So typically what's going to happen is that these two things are meant to actually be the same color. So it's meant to be the same color, but I'm going to leave them as green and blue currently, so you can see the state. So this loader is still going to be here, but I'm going to separate this. So ideally this thing is meant to like turn into this, and how you do that is to rotate this particular thing. But because of the way Figma is set, Figma automatically rotates any element from the middle axis, and this L ideally is not meant to rotate from the middle axis. It's meant to rotate from this point here. So this point here is where the L is meant to rotate, so that it's like stands on top. But there's no way you can get Figma to like do that, because Figma is always going to rotate from the middle of any elements that you have selected. So to trick Figma to rotate the thing from this particular point here, I'm going to create. So if this were a 3D tool, I think there's a way for you to like move the anchor point. So these are actually called anchor points. So on Figma always anchors any element to the middle. Yes, always leave the anchor in the middle, because by default software is actually leave anchors of elements in the middle. But for some tools, for example 3D tools, you can actually move the anchor so that it rotates from another point instead of that particular point. So to trick Figma into rotating from another anchor another anchor point other than the middle, I'm going to frame the selection again, and I'm going to call this one anchor. I'm going to let me call it big anchor, because it's for like the bigger rectangle. So big anchor. So what I'm going to do now is it's very simple, really. Should I even do it at this point? Should I do this point? Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Command. If you're using a Windows, you can hold Control, and then I'm going to scale it from this edge. So if you can see what I'm doing as I'm scaling, you can see that there's something I'm selected is moving, but then you can't tell you can't see anything because it doesn't have a background. So let me add a background. Background red. So as it stands now, this vertical loader is inside of the big anchor group. So, but the big anchor group, I'm going to make it small. So I'm scaling down to that point that I want the thing to rotate from. So you can see I'm scaling it down to this point where it's meant to rotate from. So I'm going to scale it to 1 times 1. So it's like a square at the extreme edge rather. And what I would even have done is to have rotate. So at this point, you can see that the big anchor is like kind of really, really small, and at the point where I want the thing to rotate from. So if I had to rotate the big anchor, select the big anchor now, and then rotate it by, let's say, 90 degree. Yeah. So this rotation, I'm going to go 90 degree. So you can see that it actually rotates from that point. So this is how you can trick Figma into. So let's do minus 90 instead. Yeah. So you can see this is how you can trick Figma into rotating, rotating an element from another anchor by creating your own like custom anchors instead. So that's what I just did here. I just like went to go and create an anchor at the extreme, at the edge, at the point where I wanted to rotate. If I wanted the anchor, if I wanted the Figma to rotate it from, let's say here instead, here, let me say this point here, I would go to the anchor, I would zoom in, scale it down to this point, scale it down here. So wherever you leave the anchor, wherever you set the scale the anchor down to is where Figma is going to rotate from. Let me do minus 90 now. So you can see rotate from that center point. So that's just like the whole idea of anchor point and what's not. So another way you could actually do this is to create like a frame outside. Create a frame outside. So this is this is a frame outside here. I'm going to make it pink. So just so you know, you can actually type colors here, and then Figma will just put the color there. As long as I spell it correctly, you can see I've been typing pink, red, blue, green, and whatnot, and it makes the changes the color like that. So yeah, you could actually create this and make it like 1:1 in case you're making mistakes with that one. So 1 for the height, 1 for the width, and then I'm going to copy. If I want to put this loader now inside of the anchor, I'm going to Control C it, and then select the anchor. Select the anchor. This anchor I just created now. Let me call it pink anchor. I'm going to paste inside of it. So by default, the pink anchor is set to clip content. If I turn this off, you can see the rest of the design. So this is actually the anchor point here, and the other part of it just extends. The loader itself just extends out of it. So if I were to rotate the pink anchor, let me rotate it by 45 degrees. So you can see it rotates just from that point where the where the inner element is intersecting. So that's basically the whole point of anchor. So I'm going to do the same thing. So I could just create the anchor first and then drop the element inside of the anchor. As long as you drop it inside of the layers section, you're good to go. But the way I just did this one was by creating the element first and then creating the anchor around it afterwards. So that's that. So I'm going to do the same here as well. So this does not rotate. I don't think it really needs an anchor. You only need an anchor for this other one here. So I don't think this one really needs an anchor. I think you don't need an anchor for it. I think I did an anchor for mine, but now I'm thinking about it while working on this. I don't think we need an anchor for it. We only need one for this one since it's the only thing that rotates at this point. So yeah, we're good to go after we've had the anchor for this particular one. So for the vertical now, to create the loading thing, because currently like there's no way it's going to load. So what I'm going to do now is to at this point I'm going to select the vertical big anchor. First I want to remove the background from the big anchor, and then in the vertical in the one I called vertical, I'm going to select vertical and horizontal, and then I'm going to make them change the fill to something like a gray color. Let me do gray 80 so I would choose a different gray. So you can see that now because they're like put side by side, it just looks like it's just like this seamless continuation of this seamless what's the word, seamless element that continues and there's no space between them. But I want to change the color to something better here, something I used here. So 4747 is the background color I used. I'm going to change to 4747. So select everything and then go to selection color and just change to 47. Once I tap 47, Figma is going to repeat it. So yeah, this is good. I'm okay with this color. So what I want to do next is to create a rectangle. So I'm going to call this one filler. Let me just call it. I'm just giving them like them just random contextual names. So I'm going to call this one in the last one. I call it filler. Okay. So filler is meant to be white because it's meant to like fill up with white. So I'm going to type F. Figma is going to repeat it all the way. So I want to make the filler the same height as the vertical and whatnot. So 40. Okay. 40. And then copy it and then select the vertical. Make sure that you select the vertical and then paste it inside of it. So you can see that it's the filler now is inside of the vertical. So I'm going to just make it the same width. Same width here. So the width of the left one of the vertical one is 125, while the other one is 75. So I'm just going to paste another filler inside of the horizontal group, and then make this one 75. Yeah, that was the 75. Yeah, so 75 instead. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select the vertical, horizontal, and the vertical now. Okay, no, this horizontal and vertical here. That's horizontal and vertical here. And then I'm going to clip content. Okay, clip content is turned on, good and fine, because ideally I want to make sure that whenever the filler goes out of the of the frame, that's the horizontal or vertical frame, it gets cut off and you can't see like what's happening outside of it. So if I were to turn off the clip content for this horizontal frame, you can see that you can see the rest of the filler outside. So that's not what you want. You want for some of the frames, yes, good and fine, you want the filler to show, but then for this particular one, I don't want the filler to show when it goes outside. So that is why I turned on clip content for the vertical and horizontal frames. So yeah, that's just by the wayside. So I'm going to Ctrl Z, make it come back to normal. Then I'm going to select both of them. I don't think at this point, ideally I would have dropped them to this frame. Yes, but at this point, I think I'm going to create another. It's going to be easier for me to create another frame over them that covers them again. So I'm going to frame them. But ideally, the frame is going to be small because how should I put it even self? Because it's accounting for that small anchor here. This other part that's outside of the anchor. So let me select the big anchor. So you can see the big anchor. It's really, really small here. So this is actually what Figma is calculating as the elements that you have selected. This one you are seeing outside does not count. If I were to turn on clip content, it should disappear, which is why it does not count. Which is why here you can see that the clip content really comes into play, like turning it on and turning it off. So you just know when, as long as you know when to turn off and turn on clip content, you would always be good to go inside of Figma. So yeah, for here it's turned off, like on the big anchor it's turned off, but I'm going to select both of them. Like that's the horizontal and the big anchor as well. I'm going to frame them. So I'm going to call this one loader. So like I said, I should have dropped them to this group, but I think that's going to be a hassle. So what I'll just do is just hold command, just do I did the filler now, just do I did the anchor. I'm going to hold command here, or control if you're using a Windows PC, and then drag out the loader just to account for this particular. Make sure you zoom in, and then just like make it the exact same size or the exact same width as where this one stops, since this one is not accounted for as part of the elements that you framed. You have to like extend the loader all the way to that point. So yeah, that's just something to keep in mind as well. Do I need to even do this group? I don't think I need to do this group really. I don't think I need to make them a loader group. Let's ungroup it. I think it's better if we ungroup it, because is it better? You know what? Let's just leave it inside of the group, just to keep our work tidy. Let's leave it inside of the group. So make sure for this group, for this new frame just created, the clip content is not turned on, it's turned off. Just keep that in mind as well. So with that done, let's delete these other ones. I don't think they're really important anymore. So you have one loader that contains every single element you're going to need to create your animation, both the loading animation and both the L itself. So we're good to go. So this is like the state before the final state. So the final state should actually be the L version. So let's create a duplicate of it. And then here I'm going to go down to the horizontal, go to the big anchor, and then that thing I mentioned them, which was the whole what do you call it, the whole I'm trying to find the best words for this. You know what, let me try something again. I want to see if a group would work best in this scenario. So ungroup and then group instead. Nah, a group doesn't work. A group is not going to work. So let's just continue the way we've been going. So here what I want to do is I would want to try and find the best words. Sorry. Okay, I would want to rotate that big anchor. So select big anchor here and then rotate it by minus 90 degree. So you can see I already have that L done already perfectly fine. So what I want to do now is to select the loader. So you can see that but the loader still like stretches all the way there. So I want to also like take care of the loader, what do you call it? The loader, what's the word? The loader dimensions. So what I want you to do is just to hold control again, or command if you're using a Mac, and then just tidy it up. Make sure you zoom in to make sure that it's touching all the places that the shape extends to. So I'm going to stretch it all the way up as well. Okay, so I think we're good. However, there's a small, tiny problem, very, very tiny problem. But then all these kind of problems, these are the problems I call designer problems that bother the designer himself. But then for other people, they may not see. So you can see that here, it looks like this here. But let me show you the original thing that I did on mine. So you can see that the points, the vertices, I think, yeah, that's the word, vertices are the ones that are touching. So here, it's not the vertices that are touching. So to handle that scenario, to handle this particular problem we have, I'm going to have to go to the big anchor again, and then make sure that the big anchor is actually set outside. So yeah, the big anchor has to like break the boundaries a bit. So what I did was I held command or control if you're using Windows, drag it up, and then drag it up as well. so that the big anchor is actually outside of everything. So this is where the big anchor is here, so that the element actually rotates and it's touching that thing at the top. Although you could say, okay, you know what, you want to leave it like this, good and fine, if this whole thing feels too confusing. So what I want to do now is to have the big anchor. I'm going to delete this viewport again and copy this one, and then here I'm going to select big anchor and then rotate it by minus 90 degree. So let's zoom in again and see. So you can see that, oh oh boy, okay. There's a problem. So to handle that problem, I think the next thing to do is to not just move the big anchor outside. Let's go to the big anchor and make it, let's make the fill something like, let's make it red so you can see where it is. So I'm going to still move it to the side. It'll be like, again, all this thing I'm doing, I'm holding command so that it doesn't like, mess with the content that's inside currently of the big anchor. If you're holding command, it's going to prevent the inner content from being messed with. So I'm going to drag to the side so that it's offset a bit, so you can see where it is. If I was to make the horizontal filler, let's make it red, okay. So you can see that it's right above where the horizontal filler actually starts from. So let's see if this solves the problem. Let me just try it here. Select big anchor, rotate by minus 90. I really hope this works because I remember how this was a problem for me. Okay, next solution is to actually bring the big anchor inside here instead, okay. So you can see how these are the problems that you encounter when you're working with these things, and you have to find creative solutions for them. So minus 90. Okay, so I think I finally have like the perfect solution. It's to make the big anchor intersect perfectly with the, intersect like this with both elements. So let me try it now and hopefully it should work. Oh boy, minus 90. Yes, so finally have our solution. So let me remove the, so yeah, this, you can see how what I just did just now. Let me still backtrack a bit so you can properly understand what's going on. So now the width is 2 by 2, and some part of it is intersecting, like it's just intersecting perfectly with both what's it called, both the horizontal and the vertical. So keep in mind that this big anchor is what is holding this vertical loading element. So don't get it confused or anything. So some part of it is stretching into, like, it's just intersecting perfectly with all the shapes. So if this is confusing, I don't want to spend too much time explaining this. If it's confusing, just like look deep into like the file. Take this my file and then look deep into it and just try to understand how I was able to achieve this particular thing. So yeah, that's just that's that for that. So I'm going to remove the fill as well, and then I'm going to set it back to 0. Okay, so I want to delete this one again, set this one to F, okay, and then I'm going to duplicate. So I'm going to duplicate this. Then here I'm going to have the big anchor rotate by minus 90. Okay, like this. I finally have the perfect illusion kind of L. So what I want to do now is to go to the loader itself. I'm going to hold Command or Control if you're using Mac, and then I'm going to, if you're using Mac stroke Windows, depending on what you're using, just press that button, and then hold that button down while you're clicking and dragging to adjust the layer, to adjust the frame to fit perfectly. So I'm going to drag it, okay, to stop here, and then I'm going to drag it to stop here as well. So like this, I have my L properly done and with the right loader proportions as well. So what I'm going to do now is just to center it, align center, align vertical center, so it's in center. Why I actually had to do the whole shape, the whole adjusting the loader thing, is because I want it to center properly. But if you know you can visually center it properly, good and fine. So with this done, I want to actually start backtracking to the initial state. So the initial state is where you, first of all, you have the filler for the horizontal. You have it all the way to the extreme end, so it's going to be somewhere around, it's just going to be outside like this. So what I mean by outside, let's click on the horizontal and drag it out. So let me turn off clip content. So what is happening is that I've moved the filler to the extreme end. So again, I'm using my keyboard, because if I were to use mouse, it could actually, I could mistakenly drag it out of the layer of the frame rather. So you don't want that. So I'm using keyboard. So I'm going to turn off clip content here. You can see that the filler is actually outside. So that's what we're going to have here. I move the filler outside with my keyboard. So that's that for the first for this version. And then for the other version, okay, for the other version, I'm going to move the viewport, duplicate it, and then I'm going to move the filler of the vertical all the way outside as well. So personally, I like giving like a space of, let's say, 10 from where it starts. Okay, you can do yours anyways. You can do yours, but then it's just going to affect the timing and all of that. So here as well, the filler, let me see. Okay, 10 as well. Okay, cool. So you can see how it like progresses. So from here it turns to here, here it turns to here, and then here it turns to here. So that's the whole progression of how it's supposed to work. So we can start linking now to see how the whole thing is supposed to like work in harmony with each other. So the first thing I want to do is I'm just going to go back to my other design and just use the timing and everything, because I don't want to like spend too much time trying to like figure out timing and whatnot. So here it's smart animate obviously, and then ease out, then 1000 milliseconds. Okay, so let's do that here as well. So I'm going to go to prototype mode and then drag this one to link with this one, and then whatever you want to set the what do you call it, the trigger to be, it's up to you. So for this one, let's just set the trigger to, on click. Let's say to on click. So, and then the animation type to, I don't know if it's called animation type, to smart animate basically, and then we'll change it to, I think ease out is the same thing, and then 1000. So let me be sure it's ease out I used here. Okay, ease out, cool. So here, from this one to the next one after delay, and then ease out as well, 500. Okay, so here to here, you should make it after delay, because obviously you don't want it to delay, like you don't want to be on click. Once the animation starts, you can set the on click to start the process, but then once it starts, ideally should be going automatically by itself, which is why you have to like set what's it called, after delay on this second screen as well. So I'm just going to change the after delay timing to 1, because you don't want it to delay too much there, and then 800. Okay, so ease out as well, smart animate ease out 800. So here, from here to here now, let's also go back and check. So you can always go through all these my settings just to make sure that yours is working as well. So you can see here the and after delay, so that like there's this small slight delay after it gets to the final point before it changes to this thing. So it's just to add some finesse to your animation. So yeah, I think it's ease out as well. So it's all ease out. I was not using any easing or whatnot. So after delay as well, and then let's do 150 milliseconds. I think for mine, I didn't like that it was too long. Let's do 150, and then 800 as well. So cool. Let's see how it all plays out. Let's play the animation. Let's click on it. So you can see it works perfectly well. Thank God I don't have to go back and do any weird changes. So the initial animation has been handled. So the hard part, not the hard part, but the slightly tricky part now is making the making the that zooming effect. So you can see here, once it gets to the full state, it turns and then it zooms in. Yeah, so that's where the tricky part is. So this is where I'm going to like show you how to creatively cheat Figma. So what I'm going to do now is that, like I said, there are tons of ways to achieve it. Personally, what I would have loved to do is actually have the design side of this frame here and then, but then it's going to be kind of, it's just going to be too long. And the easiest way I figured out how to do was to, like I said, make like a cutout of this L inside of a black rectangle. Nobody's going to know. You know how they do, there's this thing that says no one's going to know. They're not going to know. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Nobody's going to know. You're the only person that's going to like know what you did to achieve that particular thing. So I'm going to drag this viewport here. I'm not even going to use that viewport really self. Okay, let's start with it. So I'm going to duplicate it here, and then I'm going to switch to design mode back. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ungroup everything. I'm going to ungroup everything back to, so it's just remaining just the rectangle. So ungroup as well again. So you can see now here I have just the two the two fillers here. What I want to do now is I want to make sure that it's been reduced back to the two fillers, those two white fillers. I'm going to set them to flatten. So what flatten does really, it turns them into one shape. So you can see now it's a one vector shape. So you can see it's one vector shape. I can edit point. So just flatten them So you can't flatten a frame. You actually cannot flatten a frame. You can only, okay, let's see if we could even just select the loader and then do flatten instead. So yes, it does work. We don't have to ungroup even itself. Just flat. So flatten will get rid of all the frames and then turn the shapes into one shape. So the shapes are actually the fillers that were inside. So it turns the entire thing into one single shape. So like this, you're good to go. So the next thing you want to do is to create a rectangle. So I'm going to create a rectangle. So rectangle that's exactly the same size as the background. So I'm going to make it that's 1440 by 1080. Sorry, 810 rather. So to make sure you can see this thing, I'm going to make it red. See what's going on. And I'm going to make the background, let's make it blue. Okay, so the background is blue. So the view, I'm going to move the rectangle to the background behind the L. So you can see that the rectangle is behind the L, obviously. I'm going to select the rectangle and the vector, and I'm going to do this boolean here. So select this drop down here, and then go to subtract selection. Subtract, keep in mind subtract selection. So you're going to subtract. So you can see now that what happens is that it creates it creates a cutout of the air inside of the multi-core, the rectangle. That's the regular rectangle. So you can now see through the shape or through the rectangle into the background. So this is like the idea is to achieve mine. So now I'm going to change the fill to black, so 0. So you can see now this is going to like give, if I were to turn the viewports to white, 0. Sorry, F rather. So you will not, if I put both of these things side by side, you will not be able to tell that, oh, there's a difference in them, because they look exactly the same, but they look the same. Why they look the same? They are actually not the same thing, because this one is like a rectangle with a cutout inside of it, but this is like an actual, what do you call it? Actual frames with functional elements. So this is what I want to do here to like finalize everything, just to flatten it. I think the best option is to flatten this one as well. So flatten the shape as well. Flatten, is it the shape? Yeah, flatten the shape. So you can move it outside as one singular element. So you can see, you can always see through, wherever I move this thing to, you can always see this L through it. See through the L. So that's basically what I'm just do. So yeah, with that done, I want to now start handling this particular thing. So this one, ideally, if you see the way mine comes in here, just watch. It's a subtle thing, but then it's important because you want to give people fluidity of animations and everything. So you can see that the let me see if I can slow it down. You can see that the text, they have these subtle animations with them. They come out from that. You can see the text, it comes out and then it goes back in. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm going to like create that for this particular one as well. I think I've done it in some other tutorials, but then just so you can see everything together as one functional prototype is why I'm going to go through the hassle of doing it all over again. So the first thing I want to do is to click on this image frame, make sure it's set to clip content. So this is going to be like the before state, and then it's going to be like the final state. So on this state, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select the image frame, the real image, and then I'm going to zoom, like expand it, hold K, you can press K, and then straight from the edges. Just make sure you extend like the image to break the boundaries of the frame. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Just stretch it as much as you want to, and then the next thing I want to do is to turn down the opacity. Really, just turn down the opacity to 0. So in the before state, obviously it's going to be invisible, and then it's going to come into view here. And then another thing I want to do is also, okay, yeah, you know what, let's just still leave it like this for now. So the next thing I want to do is to move this thing downwards a bit, so that when it's coming into view, so this is what I call like layering of animations, like adding one animation to another animation, just to make it like look to make it feel good. There's really no specific answer I can give you as to why you do layering of animations, but then it's just important because it makes the animation feel more interesting. Other than having just one motion, it has like multiple motions that are happening at the same time that makes it even more interesting. So here what I want to do is to layer this animation, because typically if I were to move from this view, so let me just link them so you can see what's going on. So let me just link them with one basic prototype. One click, ease out, okay. So drag it here as well. So let me just play this one so you can see. So you can see what's happening. It's zooming in and zooming out. So I want to add an extra layer of motion to this, or an extra layer of animation to this. What I want to do is to move the entire bottom content downwards. So because I'm using an auto layers group, the way to do that is just to like add a space in between Then if this wasn't auto layout group, I would have just moved the entire bottom content down a bit. But because it's an auto layout group, you have to like follow auto layout rules and regulations. So to do that, I just press 40 in the spacing here, and that's that. So here it's a bit down. Let's do 80 so you can actually see the motion. So let's see that in motion. So you can see what happens. There's two animations going on now. There's the up and down motion, then there's the zoom in and zoom out. So it's just a more subtle animation that you've added, like an extra layer of animation you've added to your original animation to make it more interesting. So if I had to now add one more to it now, so the final piece of the puzzle is just to make the entire thing invisible. So this is basically, okay, not the entire thing, just the image itself. So turn it down to 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, so let's see. So I feel like this is much more better than just having just one single animation going on. I think what I want to do is to reduce the spacing I put between them from 80 to something like 60. I don't want too harsh motion, so I want something like 60 to move just a subtle distance. Yep. So I think this is okay for me. This is fine by me. So yeah, that's just the whole lesson on the sort of what's called layering of animations together. So the other thing I want to add animation to is the text. I've done text animations a couple of times for just this. There's this GSAP, I call them, is it called GSAP? Yeah, GSAP now. If you're familiar with them, dev terms. This GSAP animation library. They like doing these things where text they like doing this text reveal thing where text comes from an invisible space like between them. So I'm just going to like show you how to do that. I've done it before, but then let's do it again so we can see the entire animation play out as a holistic element. So here you can see that the text are just basically the same. What I want to do is to remove the auto layout from the top content, because okay, am I going to remove the auto layout? No, let me just remove the auto layout from the frame. Let me call it text frame. Text. Let me just call it text. You know what? Let me call it text frame. So yeah, text frame. I'm going to remove the auto layout here, and so I can move the element inside of it freely. I'm going to turn on clip content as well. So what I want to do is I want to select the actual text side of the text frame and then move it down a bit. So in the before state, it moves down okay, the names vary, so the names of the frames vary. So I'm going to go here, copy the text frame, and then come to this other frame. Make sure the names are always like the same across board, because if not, you're going to have like wonky looking animations. So yes, so you can see that it works fine now. Okay, here as well, the clip content is not turned on, so make sure clip content is also turned on across board. If it's turned off across board, turn it off across all the different screens. If it's turned on across one, turn it on across other screens as well. So that's just something to keep in mind. So you can see this animation is okay, but then it looks too basic. So to make what GSAP does, GSAP library helps you do to make it look even better itself, is to add some subtle. We're going to get there, sharp. So the next thing I want to do is just to, for these other ones, I don't think I really want to do anything with the logo. Okay, what I want to do with the logo, I want to move it. I want to remove auto layout as well, and then move it to. I want to remove auto layout from the entire top content. Really, I just want to remove the auto layout from there, because the animation I want to do requires me to move things. Yeah, it requires me to move things certain way. So I'm going to remove auto layout. Auto layout is going to get in the way of that. So I'm going to just move the L to this, like the L illusion to the end, and then move this text as well. Move all these things. Okay, these ones I want to increase spacing between them to something like let's say times 2. So that's 48. Okay, no, it's too much. 48 is too much. Let's do 32. Okay, and then I'm going to like move them to the extreme left, the extreme right rather. So align right, and then I'm going to turn the opacity down for here and for here. So you can see how the whole thing is coming together. So you can see that in the final view, it just like comes from the edge, and then it's sort of really nice looking thing. So the only thing we still have issues with is the way, or I still have issues with, is the way this text is coming out. This would have been fine if this was just like any normal animation, but I feel like it could be more, it could be better. It could be better. So what I'm going to do to make it better is I'm going to come here, select the text, bring it back to normal, and then I want to break the text into like individual lines. So to do that is just for me to come here, click on the where the line breaks, press enter, you won't see anything happening, but then something's actually happening. So it's breaking from being one line that's truncating down to being an actual one line. So enter, enter, enter. So like this. Now what I mean is that if I were to take it out, so let me take it out of the text. Even if I were to stretch the frame, you will not see anything happening because they're actually independent lines of text. But initially what was happening, this is like the unedited version of it. So let me make them both F. Okay, this is the new one I just did just now. If I were to stretch it, you see that the text does not really, nothing happens. But then this one, if I were to stretch it, see that the text is like running because it's actually one line of text that's truncated because I like shrunk the frame down. So there's a difference between both of them. So what I want to have is actually this version where each text is actually one line. But then on GSAP, if you're using GSAP to develop this on web, it will not be this complex because again, you have much more freedom and much more room to mess around with stuff with code. But since you are using a design software to make all these things, it's kind of tricky. So you need to like think creatively to find workarounds to these things as well. So yeah, once that is done, the next thing I want to do is to run this plugin called Nisa Text. It's called Nisa Text. I'm going to run it and then split. So I'm going to split auto layout. Okay. I hope it works. I hope that's the solution. I really hope that's the solution. So it's apparently supposed to like load a bit and then just break the text into individual lines. So it's still loading and loading and loading. I don't know how long it's going to load for. Because this like is the final piece of the puzzle. After this is done, I think the heavy work is actually over with. Oh boy, this does not look like it's going to run anytime soon. You know what, let me actually open the UI itself. Okay, so I stopped the plugin from running because it kept taking forever. So I'm going to run it again. I don't think today's our lucky day because Nisa Text doesn't seem to be running. So I've made the whole process very, very easy. Very easy. But since it's not working, let me copy this other text from this. Nah, I don't want to mess with this design. Oh boy. Okay. Let's go the long the long route. So what I want to do is to duplicate this text. So I'm going to count how many lines of text I have. So I have 1 line, 2 line, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to make sure it's 5 duplicates or 4 duplicates like that. So everything comes down to 5. So it's currently 4. So what I want to do is break for this first one, delete all the text to make it remaining just them. That's why it's a stressful process, but yeah, since Nisa Text is not running, is the only other alternative I see to achieving this. So clean everything until it remains just the line that you need. So third line, I'm on third line, so I just need to clean every other thing, leaving just the third line. Okay, so I'm selecting everything, leaving just the third line. So again, now I'm on the fourth line. So again, Nisa Text have saved us all this stress, but because it's not running, so the fourth line is this at cursors one thing. Okay. Fourth line. Okay. So while I'm doing that, we'll try to like align the singular line, align with where it originally should be in the place of things. Okay. So now it's remaining just the last line. So the elf one thing. So again, Nisa Text have saved us all these things, and I've done them before, but because we're not because I am the plugin is not running, or because I want us to like see how it's all going to work together, is why I'm going through the painstaking process of doing it all over again. So okay, Morris. And the next one is this. I'm sorry, it's such a messy process. It's just because that plugin is not running. That's why I'm having to like do all of this manually. And then the last one is this. Okay, so I have them roughly spread out from each other. I'm going to select everything, and then I'm going to auto layout them. And then the auto layouts, I'm going to give them a spacing of I think 12 is actual ideal spacing. Or is it 12? 12? Yeah, I think 12. It's 12. Yeah, it's actually 12. So, sorry. So I've been able to restructure, like rearrange the text in their order again. So what I want to do now is to select all the text. It's a long process. It's a long, painful process, but yeah, it's worth it when you see the final animation. I'm going to ungroup them again, okay? And then what I want to do now is to go to, there's this two other plugin called batch auto layout. Is it batch auto layout? Yeah, it's called batch auto layout. So I'm going to do batch auto layout, okay? So what batch auto layout should do, you know what, let's not do batch auto layout. Let's actually do them manually, because this plugin might actually cause more harm than good. So I'm going to group this thing. I'm going to group it. I'm going to frame it. So I'm going to frame each line. So frame selection. So the shortcut to frame selection is Command Option G. If you're using Mac, it should be Control Alternate G. I think so. So let me just do the shortcut. So frame this one, frame this one, frame this line, frame this line. So you have framed all the lines. So I'm going to call them, let's say, let me call this one line 1. So there's a shortcut to do this, but I don't want to spend too much time explaining the shortcut. Line 3, line 4, line 5. I just realized that there was like another route I could have done all of this and saved all the stress. So let's use this one as an example. So I'm just going to come here and then I'm going to do flatten. So it's going to stop being a text, but is it flatten? Outline stroke, yes. I think outline stroke. It's going to stop being a text, but then I think that's okay. I think that's really okay. So I'm going to press outline stroke. So what outline stroke does? Oh boy. I'm only trying to look for like faster ways to do things, but outline stroke actually turns every single thing to an individual element. I don't think I really want that. It's too much. In this case, it doesn't work. So I'm going to go back to all these lines I've selected, and then I'm going to press this button here, this button called resize to fit, so that the frames perfectly cover every single. Oh boy, this is really stressful. It's really stressful, but then again, like I said, it's worth it. So what I want to even do really is to select all the lines, go and press enter, and then I want to turn them into outline stroke. Let's just do outline stroke, really. Or no, let's do flatten. Flatten gives you like one line instead. So come here, flatten each one of the text themselves. So select text and flatten. Why I'm doing this, because I want the entire body of the text to be selected. So yeah, select this other vertical line, flatten, select other line, flatten. So once this is done, what happens that before, when it was not flattened, the text what do you call it, the text area does not account for like what's it called, ligatures. I think they call ligatures. Now, for example, this G that has like a curve down, the text box does not cover it. The text box only goes as far as covering just the baseline of them, and that's not what I want. I want the text box to like cover the entire thing. So once I've flattened it, let me do a flattened and non-flattened state. Okay, so you can see this is the non-flattened. This is when it says text. But if I flatten it, in this text format, you can see that the text area only goes as far as the baseline where the text actually rests. So it doesn't account for this ligature, that this hanging whatever at the bottom. So if I had to flatten it, you can see that the box now stretches all the way to every single thing. So that's what I really want. So I want to also do the same here as well. So flatten. So once that is done, I'm going to select all the lines. You know, all the lines I've changed them into frames. So I'm going to then press this button, this resize to fit. So what it's going to do is going to resize the frame to cover for just that thing that happened just now, to reach as far as where the baseline stops. So that's just what I want to do. And then now I want to the text frame. I also want to do the same thing for the text frame as well. so that it allows room for everything to show. So with that done, I want to select all the lines and then select clip content so that anything that goes outside of it is going to be hidden. So this line 1 has gone outside of its frame, so you can see this is why it's being hidden at this point. So yeah, this text issue is always a messy business, and I'm always like finding more efficient way to do this thing. But because that plugin was not running is why I had to like go the long route of like doing it manually. So yeah, I'm going to copy this. Like this is the final view, so I can just copy this now and then click on this one and then paste to replace. So this is like the final version, so I don't need to go back aside. So what I want to do now is I want to select all of them. That's select everything inside the text frame. Click on text frame, press enter. It's going to select all the lines. Then press enter again, and then hold shift, and then move down. So shift makes things move faster. So move down. So you can see that I moved all of them like outside of their frames. So ideally, one thing I like doing is I like creating. Okay, let's just see how this works. It should work. So this is like the before state, and after I click, you can see the after state. So you can see that all the text like come out in a more nicer fashion. But personally, I like for text animations, especially when the text is not too much, I like step by step. I like gradual or procedural. I think the word is procedural animation of text. What that means is that all the text currently are coming out at the same time. They come out at the same time because they come out at the same time. So I don't really like this might be fine for some people, but for me, I feel like it could be better. Again, it could always be better as long as you're adding one more layer of animation to things. It always sometimes it always comes out and better. So what I want to do is I want to select the first line. So I would hold Command and hold Shift and then click on the layer. So that way I've deselected the first line here, and then here I'm going to hold Shift down. Now just hold only Shift and then press down again. So down moves the entire thing like one step lower than that first one. So you can see if I to press play. If you notice, this first one comes out first and then the other ones, like it's just a slight difference, but then first one comes out first and then the other ones follow after. So I'm going to do the same as well. So I'm going to go back to design, hold Shift and Command to deselect the second one, and then hold Shift and then press down again to move these other selections even lower than the first and second. So the same thing, hold Shift and Command, select the third line, hold Shift and press down. Okay. Hold Shift and press down, and then hold Shift and Command, select the fourth line, and then hold Shift and press down. So all of them have different distance from their final destination. So they are going to come out procedurally. So let's see how it plays out. So if you watch, it's subtle, but then it makes the whole difference. So you can see that the first, second, third, fourth, like they come out in a procedural manner. So I just feel like this like gives like a more nicer feel to your animation. Instead of them just coming at the same time, it just gives a nicer feel like this when they come out different. So if you even watch how they go, like how they like the going out state, this down one is the one that goes first because it's farther away from this origin point, so it has to go first. So yeah, that's just how it works. So that's that for the text animation. It took a lot of time. I think this took the most time because it's a whole stressful process. With code, I don't think this would be that difficult, but that's how you deal with design. It's a whole hassle. So now, to create that illusion of because ideally this is meant to go from here, this animation is meant to go from here to here to here to here, and then this zooms in to give you this view. So what we want to do now is to create copy this viewport, this subtraction you have here. That's this L subtraction. Remember that thing we did then with the whole thing. So copy it, Ctrl C, and then paste it here. So paste it here above every other thing, and then align properly. So like this, you can see that you can see through the whole thing. If I were to play, to have some wonky animation to it because it's just fade in and fade out. But yes, it's like we are on track to achieve this thing. So here I'm going to copy this, copy the thing again, Ctrl C, the subtraction, paste it here as well. So here, the only difference here now is that it's going to be big, like really, really big. So press K on your keyboard, and then just scale it up. So here, there's no right or wrong as to how to do things. Just scale it up until, so scale it up and then also rotate it by 45 degree. So rotate by 45 degree. So minus 45 degree rather. So minus 45 degree. And then once you've done that, try to like move it to the center. Try to like centralize it a bit so that so part of the L is just going to reveal. While you're doing that, be careful, please. I think while you're doing that here, you can actually lock. You can lock the website content. Yeah, you can lock the website content. Just come here and press the lock button so that you don't tamper with it and just focus on subtraction only. So we're still going to make it bigger, even bigger, and then try to just move it to the middle so that it reveals the content. So make it even bigger as well. So I think we're almost there. Yes, I think this works. So I had to scale mine by 2.2x before I was able to like get this view, but yours can be smaller or anything. So yeah, this is how you do it. So let's play everything. Let's play it again and see. So you can see how it works. You can see how the L comes into view. So yeah, basically this is what you want to achieve. So now let's link everything together to play from the start, like from start to finish. So we can delete this viewport, this other one, delete. So let's play from here. So to make this, because currently the way it's tied, so let me tie this one to this one. So ideally, this is from this screen, it's meant to jump to the screen, but that cannot happen because this is like a different screen from this screen. And what to make the jump look seamless, what I do is I link this one to this screen here, and then I change it to after delay. That's the trigger after delay. Let's do 0. I think 0 is, let me see if 0 that I used here. Let's see 0 that I used here. Okay, yeah. 0 is still equal to, like, here is equal to 1. You can't do 0, you have to do 1. So you make it 1 millisecond after delay, and then you're going to make the trigger, or you're going to make jump from smart animate to instant. So instead of it being smart animate, it's just going to instantly switch. So nobody's going to know. Like, nobody's going to know that this has switched from here to here. So here now, from here to here now, it should actually be after delay as well. So after delay, let's see what timing I used for mine. So 800, 1000, easy 9000. Okay, cool. 800. So here, yeah, 1000. So easy in and ease out instead. So yes, I think it should work just fine now. So let's play from the beginning. So here it's still set to on click. So I'm going to click. So you can see how it loads, and then turns into the L, and then it zooms in. So this is like how you achieve the animation. This was the most stressful part. So in case you have trouble with it, just focus on the actual illusion animation itself. The other parts can wait. But yeah, this is how you achieve that, the whole illusion page animation. If you have any questions while you're trying to achieve it, do reach out to me on social media. Reach out to me on Twitter or on LinkedIn, and I will always do my best to reply and also help you with your challenges you may be facing. And if it's about something else, really, you can always reach out to me. I'm always willing to talk about design and help out as best as I can. So yeah, this is how you do the whole thing. You can see how I was able to use creative thinking and creative thinking to find creative solutions. Again, I'm using the word creative too much, but then to find creative solutions to all these very, very peculiar problems that Figma would typically not let you do. So we started with the whole anchor thing, how to make something turn on a different anchor than Figma would typically allow you turn something. So yeah, we did that, and then we also did the text and also did how to make this jump from here. So you can see that this is like the most key part. So after delay 1, and then this one instantly switches to this part, and then this animation can now play, which is what really makes all this thing possible. So that's how I was able to approach this problem. So if you do have any other methods you want to use to approach it, good and fine. Do always reach out to me. I'm always welcome to feedback, welcome to anything really. So yeah, that's all for this particular tutorial. It was long, most especially because of this text animation. So if you are having troubles with this one, you can probably just leave it for now, because I understand it may get a bit complicated and all that. But yeah, that's all. Thanks once again, and I will see you next time. Bye.